Hey everyone! I am a very sunburnt lily, and that's why I don't have my normal lighting, because I'm very sunburnt and I have a really bad, not tan line, but sunburn line, and I'm embarrassed. But, I'm barreling on ahead anyway, and starting my review of Magic 2019. So, Magic 2019 is the first core set since Magic Origins, which was before I started playing, so this is my first core set, because I started back in Shadows, or as of the Gatewatch, about the turn of Shadows. But yeah, so I'm really excited. Core sets are more aimed to be more beginner-friendly, but I'm finding, going through, a lot of my preliminary, analysis of everything, found that this is still a pretty deep and nice set for drafting, and if nothing else, even if it is a bit more simple than some other sets, it can't be as bad as Ixalan, so there's that. But at the same time, also it's a good time to work on your fundamentals of drafting. So then stuff that applies to everything else without a lot of the noise of trying to make weird historic combos and stuff like that go off. Work on your fundamentals, work on a good curve, removal, good creatures, that sort of thing. But yeah, and we're gonna hop right into this. So this is I'm gonna be focusing mostly for limited, mostly draft, because that's my main format. But I will make notes when I'm going to put it into a deck of any of my commander decks I've put into. That said, might be doing a separate commander review as part of a new series that I haven't really fully announced yet, and I'll talk about that later, but I'll make notes for when I'm talking about when it applies to stuff I've already done, but it's not going to be the whole as in-depth talking about commander as I have before. So let's jump right into it. This video is going to be for white. And so we're just gonna go through all of the white cards. Oop, nope, bad. So let's just romp right into it. Aegis of the Heavens. It's 1 and a white for an instant uncommon, which is target creature gets +1/+7 until end of turn. It's a combat trick. Combat tricks, you don't usually want more than 1 or 2 in a deck, and this one isn't good. The Adamant Will in Dominaria was similar, but it gave +1/+1 indestructible. And this one is just strictly worse than Adamant Will, and Adamant Will wasn't a card you wanted to play. It doesn't, because it's +7, it's after a certain point, the actual gained toughness doesn't do anything. +1 doesn't really help you win that many more combats, or kill things that much larger than you. And yeah, no, it just doesn't do enough. It doesn't protect you against destroy effects, and yeah, I'm just not a fan of Aegis of the Heavens as a combat trick. And I'm not big on combat tricks to begin with, so don't avoid this card if you can. That said, it will get the job done, so it's not the worst in it isn't the end of the world, it's not stone unplayable, but it's not good. Okay, we have Aether Shield Artificer, which is a 4-mana 3/3, so and a little bit below below curve, but still decent stats. But at the medium combat on your turn, target artifact creature you control gets +2 and +2 and gains indestructible until end of turn. Now, the blue-white archetype in M19 is all about artifacts, and this is a beating if you can have critical mass of artifact creatures. I would want probably at least 3, preferably more, in my deck to run this, because if not, a 4-mana 3/3 isn't the worst in the world. 3/3 is still a decent enough body, but there's better things you could be running. But if once you have more than 3 or 4 artifact creatures, this is a beating. +2/+2, and it gains indestructible. That is just hard to block and hard to deal with. And if it's a flyer, that's just good evasive damage. If it's one of the ground artifact creatures that just forces a lot of damage through them, they have to throw stuff under the bus, and this keeps pumping it every turn. So Not as good as on the defense, but it's not one that you're probably going to be swinging to the red zone that often, unless, like, the board's clear. But, yeah, no, I like it in that deck. I wouldn't pick it early. That said, I might be proven wrong, that this might be, like, an early pick. And depending on how many, like, decent artifact creatures there are, you might be, like, wanting to pick them up, but, yeah, no, this is a great payoff for that deck. First, we got our first mythic, which is there's a planeswalker in all colors. So there's actually a fair number of planeswalkers in this set. And this one is a Ajani, Adversary of Tyrants. He's a 4-mana 4 loyalty planeswalker. The +1 is put a +1/+1 counter on each of up to 2 target creatures. That +1 it's decent. It does require creatures. It doesn't help protect Ajani beyond, like, the creatures that you already have. -2, return target creature card with converted cost 2 or less from your graveyard to the battlefield. Typically you want to have, like, some 2-drops. I mean, it is limited, so you don't always, like, have 2-drops. You're rarely playing 1-drops. But, that's nice to be able to just, like, reanimate them and, like, gain some value off of that. And then the ultimate, which is unlikely to happen. It can happen in limited, but it says, at the beginning of end step, create 3 1/1 white cat creature tokens with lifelink. And obviously that's very good, but you really can't analyze planeswalkers based on the last ability. This one, if you don't have enough 2-power creatures, honestly, or not 2-power, but convert to mana cost 2 creatures, I don't know if he makes it there. Like, adding 2 power to the board each turn at most is fine, but he doesn't actually do all that much. And there are some, like, minor, like, +1/+1 counter synergies. Minor, but not really that's not, like, a main theme of the set. So, I mean, he's good if you have the stuff to reanimate targets, and he will, like, soak up some damage for you. So it's, like, obviously he's good. Like, there's only, like, planeswalkers in general are good, because it's, like, you do also essentially kind of, like, gain as part of this how much of her life that, like, they have to damage it. But he doesn't really protect himself that well, and he doesn't really influence the board that much. But yeah, he's not bad, but not wonderful as planeswalkers go. But I mean, playing him if you're in white, but I wouldn't splash for him. I wouldn't go out of my way to play him. Next up is Ajani's Last Stand, which is one thing cool about the set is it's a lot of recap on the story, and this isn't something new about Ajani dying. This is actually talking about the Alara block and Ajani summoning this big spirit avatar to fight Nicol. But it's a 4-mana enchantment and says, whenever a creature or planeswalker you control dies, you may sacrifice Ajani's Last Stand. If you do, create a 4/4 white avatar creature token with flying. Whenever a spell or ability you control causes you to discard this card, if you control planes, create that avatar with flying. I mean, it is a 4-mana enchantment that doesn't do anything when it comes down. And you're not in the sacrifice deck because that's black-red, so you don't get like trigger it when you want to necessarily. It does require like other things to happen. I mean, if you could consistently trigger it and get a 4/4 flying for 4, that would be great, but I feel in limited it isn't consistent enough. Like, I think it's playable but not great. And that's kind of what I'm gonna leave it at. It's one of those like weird rares that, because it doesn't come down on turn 4 as a 4/4, like 4/4s are powerful when they come down. And obviously a 4/4 flying like late game will still do a lot of work. But I think it's fine, but it's nothing insane. It isn't like it's just a 4/4 flying for 4. It's a 4/4 with flying for 4 with terms and conditions may apply. So, yeah. Next up we have Ajani's Primate, which is a reprint. There's a lot of reprints in the set, but it's a 2-mana 2/2. And whenever you gain life, you may put a +1/+1 counter on a Johnny's Primate. Just flat out, like 2 mana 2/2. That's decent. It passes the vanilla test. It's not bad. And you'll play 2 mana 2/2s, and you'll not be totally unhappy about it. But also, the black-white archetype is life gain. And you'll play this, and you'll probably pick it up early, even if you... This is actually a really good card, because if you can pick up any of the enablers, like there's an artifact that like gains you a life at the beginning of each turn, there's lots of just like incidental life linkers, there's lots of just other things that just gain you life incidentally. This can grow out of control very quickly, and that's a great payoff on a creature which you're not embarrassed to play to begin with. So I'm very high on Johnny's Primate, and is honestly a reason to be in that life gain deck. So yeah, no, it's a good card. And I think can become a real problem for your opponent. Or for you if you're facing it down. And here's a life gain enabler. And it's a Johnny's Welcome, which is a 1-mana enchantment, which says, whenever a creature you enters the battlefield under your control, you gain 1 life. So, it's kind of like an inverse, like Authority of the Consuls, where that one gave you when your opponents had creatures enter the battlefield. Now, obviously, the set for my decks, like, there are some stuff for Abzan life gain. I don't know if this is one of them, because it's sure it gives triggers, but it's not as much. And like, I'm not like spamming out tokens or anything. Obviously, in a token deck, it's great, but for limited, in the life gain deck, this is a decent enabler. That said, if you don't have the payoffs for life gain, I think this is too slow to actually like be good enough, because it's like, yeah, you might get like a few life off of it, but like over the course of the game, but you don't want to be playing pure life gain spells. That's just not a good idea to do. But that said, if you have those payoffs, and most of the payoffs care about like having little packages of damage, of life gain, not just all in one chunk. This one gives you lots of little packages of life gain, and is real solid. There is the problem with it late game. It is kind of a really bad draw, because late game, if you're in top deck mode, you've probably picked up all your creatures and whatnot. But I could also see it potentially, because there's this like white-red like go wide tokens deck, and that could like give it some value if like as like a sideboard card against like in like an aggro mirror. But yeah, for the most part, I think this is really good if you have those life gain payoffs. If not, I just don't think it's good enough if you're not doing other things with life gain other than just the life gain. Next up, we have Angel of Dawn, which is a 5-mana 3/3 flyer, which on its own isn't the best rate, but I mean, a 3/3 flyer is still like a decent thing, and 5 mana isn't an outrageous cost for that. It gets in, but when there's a battlefield, it also gives all your creatures +1/+1 and gains vigilance, so kind of like a mini Trial of Solidarity. Like obviously in the go wide deck, this is very good, but even for any like white X deck, I think this is real solid and can really help you like get like a nice swing in to either close out the game or just like get it down so you can like finish off the player with like Angel of Dawn, because now you have a 3/3 flyer in the air. But yeah, no, I like this as like kind of like a common finisher. Obviously it is a 5-drop, so you don't want to be running like 4 of these, but I think it's decent enough that it'll run like the first 2, because like that can like just give you good swings. It doesn't leave you vulnerable when you swing like that, and I really like it. I'm pretty high on Angel of the Dawn. Next up is Cavalry Drill Master. It's a 2-mana 2/1, and when it enters the battlefield, target creature gets +2/+0 and gains first strike until end of turn. I'm not big on this card. Okay, first of all, it's a 2-mana 2/1. You're not going to want that. Like, Pikers, you don't really want at the 2-mana slot. And on turn 2, you're not going to have a target creature to give +2/+0 in first strike. So, and then late game, a 2/1 for 2 is even worse. And the giving +2/+0 in first strike, they're just going to like if that's a problem, they'll just like chump block of something and you didn't do much. So I don't know what Cavalry Drill Master is trying to do, and I'm not big on it. I'm not huge on this card. Like, it's not unplayable, but it's not good. It's not good really at all. Cleansing Nova. It's a 5 mana sorcery. That is, choose one. Destroy all creatures, or destroy all artifacts and enchantments. In limited, you're mostly going to be destroying all creatures. And honestly, in limited, like, sweepers are good. Like, obviously, like, you have to play them correctly. Like, if you have a sweeper, like, don't play out your hand necessarily. Like, have things to follow it up. And the fact that sure, it's symmetrical, but you get to choose when you sweep the board. They're great when you're behind. And yeah, no, it's, I'm a fan of it. Like, granted, for limited isn't the best sweeper. Like, there might be a situation where you have, like if you're playing like a blue-white deck and they have a bunch of artifacts out, or the green-white deck and they have enchantments out, and you need to like cleanse them. But yeah, no, it's good. Like, it's no fumigate, but I like it. I'm a fan of sweepers in limited, so yeah, just play it smart. Play like how you do when you normally play sweepers, and you'll be good. Next up is Daybreak Champion. It's a 2-mana 1/3 with lifelink. 2-mana 1/3s aren't really a stat type I'm really looking for in my decks. They're not bad. Like, they block relatively well, and the lifelink on it gives it a lot of, if you have where at the baseline, I think it's fine to play. You'll play them in your deck, but you're not happy about it. It's better than the 2/1 piker that gives something first strike. But that said, if you are in the life gain deck, this is another source of like pretty easy to get source of like ticks of life gain to help you obviously trigger your payoffs. So if you have those payoffs, this becomes a lot higher priority, because yeah, no, it blocks well. It like disincentivizes them attacking from like the sense of like, oh, we'll get a trigger off my life gain, or you can swing in with it and things like that. And yeah, no, I'm a fan of Daybreak Chaplain in that deck. And if don't have those payoffs, it's not the most embarrassing card to run. Next up is Dwarven Priest, which is amazing art. If only it was a better card. It's a 4-mana 2/4, and when it enters battlefield, you gain 1 life for each creature you control. So it's kind of like a cheaper Angel of Renewal, which did this on a flyer. Except this one is a 2/4 for 4, which is really not good stats. And it doesn't give you, it's like a one-time life off, which even if you are in the life gain deck, I don't really think you want to be doing. So I'm not huge on Dwarven Priest. Like, you can play it if you have those life gain synergies, but like the 4-drop slot is pretty contested in draft, and this just isn't a good 4-drop. So I cannot recommend Dwarven Cleric or Dwarven Priest. I mean, it's cool that dwarves are back. I like dwarves. And like, again, great art. I love the blue. I love like the light. But no. Gallant Cavalry. Now here's a 4-drop I can get behind. It's a 4-mana 2/2 with Vigilance. That when there's battlefield, you will also get a 2/2 white knight creature with Vigilance. So you get 4/4 worth of stats with Vigilance for 4 mana across 2 creatures, which like the white-red deck cares about. Yeah, I'm in on Gallant Cavalry. Big fan. I mean, it passes the vanilla test in terms of stats and has Vigilance on top of that. Yeah, now that's a 4-drop I care about. Not much else to say. Herald of Faith. This is a 5-mana 4/3 flying, and whenever it attacks, you gain 2 life. Even without life gain payoffs, great card. Like 5-mana 4/3 flying, now those are stats for 5 mana for a flyer. Like, that gets in, and the fact that you gain 2 life every time it attacks is that is great for racing. It puts them on a sizable, like a great clock. And yeah, no, I don't even need to talk about life gain synergies. Obviously, life gain synergies pushes this over the edge, but this is easily pack one, pick oneable. And this is, I think, is one of the best, like, non-rares, and even among the rares is one of the best cards in white. Besides, like, the good removal. Which we haven't actually seen of anything removal yet, but yeah, no. Herald of Faith is very good. So, that's all I can say. Heliomancer's Cage. It's a 4-mana enchantment, and when it enters the battlefield, exile target non-land permanent an opponent controls until Heliomancer's Cage leaves the battlefield. I mean, it's an Ixalan's Binding with all the fancy Ixalan's Binding text. I mean, this is a card you'll run. Like, 4-mana unconditional removal. I mean, on the condition that you don't get rid of the enchantment, but it hits any enchantment or any permanent. And yeah, no, this is just premium removal for white. This would be one of your best removal spells. And yeah, not what else to say other than, like, this is very good. And there's, like, extra bonuses because there's, like, this green-white enchantress deck, which cares about the enchantments, but that doesn't, it's like a side bonus, but you'll be running this in any white deck regardless, so yeah. Next up is Inspired Charge, which is a 4-mana instant. Creatures you control get +2/+1 until end of turn. I'm not huge on this. Like, obviously, it's, like, can be playable if you're in this, like, go wide tokens kind of deck. But, I mean, it can end games, but it's no overrun because it doesn't give you trample or anything, and 4 mana is a lot, so you can't really use it as a trick as much. But if you are in that go wide deck, it's a good, like, one-of for a finisher, but for the most part, as a 4-drop, I'd rather be, like, playing, like, more creatures or things like that, so. And we haven't really seen that many, like, great token makers. Next up is Invoke the Divine. It's 2 and a white for an instant with destroy target artifact or enchantment you gain for life. This is a sideboard card. Like, in Dominaria, this card is main boardable because of all the sagas and great, like, artifacts. And since there is, like, an enchantment and an artifact deck, like, you will want to bring them in against those decks, but they're not as spread out among all the colors. So, it's a sideboard card. And I mean, it's a good sideboard card, like, and, like, it gives, like, life gain synergies too, but you're not running this main board in this format as far as I can tell. Unlike Dominaria. Next up is Isolate, which is a 1-mana instant. Exile target permanent with converted mana cost 1. You're not playing against... People don't play 1-drops in Limited that much, so this is a constructed card. Don't play it. It's probably not even a sideboard card. Just don't play it. It's not good in Limited. It wasn't made for Limited. This was made for Modern and Vintage and Legacy or stuff like that. Formats I don't play, so yeah. Knight of the Tusk. This is a 7-mana, 3/7 Vigilance. 6-mana, 3/7 Vigilance. First of all, he is awesome and amazing because he's a knight riding an elephant. You don't need anything else. It's great. But that said, I mean, as a 6-drops go, like, it is kind of a funny as, like, a 3/7 Vigilance as a creature, but, like, he attacks well. He is kind of hard to block. Like, obviously they have, like, a 4 power toughness creature, but yeah. And the fact that he doesn't have to tap to do that, and then he blocks super well. I'm pretty high on Knight of the Tusk. I actually rather like him as a card. I'm a very defensive player, so I like these sort of cards. So yeah, no, I like Knight of the Tusk, even if he is kind of, like, humorous in terms of his stats, but yeah. That said, you probably don't want to run more than one, because he is a 6-drop, and there are probably better 6-drops, but yeah. Alright, we got Knight's Pledge, which is a 2-mana enchantment, and enchanted creature gets +2/+2. this is not good. Like, 2 mana, 2/2 versus stats, like, that's fine, but it has all the normal pitfalls of auras, being like this, like if they kill your creature, it's a 2-for-1. This doesn't actually give you this much. Like, this isn't a dub, which, like, gives it, like, First Strike, or the, like, On Sarah's Wings, like, those 2 cards in Dominaria, where Dominaria, we had really good auras to give. This is not one of them. And it doesn't even make the creature a knight, so what's even the point? There are, like, enchantment matter payoffs cards, but honestly, none of the payoffs are honestly that good. So I would say this is not worth it even with the payoffs. So, not high on Knight's Pledge. Knightly Valor, which is a 5-mana enchant creature, aura, which gives +2/+2 in Vigilance, and when it enters the battlefield, you create a 2/2 Knight with Vigilance. This one I am higher on, because it's still sure it also gives +2/+2, it costs 5 mana, it has Vigilance, but the fact that you also get a token means that you're not strictly 2-for-1. If you have those aura payoffs, this isn't, it's good for that deck, and otherwise I think it's playable, but not the best in the world. Obviously don't play it into a situation where they might be holding up a removal spell and cause this to fizzle, but that's just normal how to play with auras. But yeah, no, I don't think it's great, but it's acceptable. Especially if you have those aura payoffs, because there's like the enchantresses, which like draw you a card when you cast the auras and things like that. So this is an aura that shouldn't be ashamed of playing, unlike Knight's Pledge, which you shouldn't play. Alrighty, we have our first legendary creature, which is Lina, Selfless Champion, who is a 6-mana 3/3 human knight. And when it enters the battlefield, create a 1/1 white soldier creature token for each non-token creature you control. So at the baseline, she'll make 1 token, but she's a 6-drop, so you'll have other creatures out. Like, if you have her in your deck, you're like gonna be less likely to like aggressively trade off creatures. You're going to keep that board stabilized. And then you can sacrifice her, and creatures you control with power less than Lina's power gain indestructible until end of turn. So you can also protect your board. And she has great flavor text, which is very relevant to modern day, which is those who do evil and those who do nothing are equally worthy of contempt. But I love her. She's amazing and also very hot. I like girls in armor, okay? But I think she's real solid. Like, if you have at least 2 other creatures out, which is not unlikely given the point that she's a 6-drop, she is a 6/6 for 6 across 4 creatures, and she can sacrifice herself to protect like a lot of your small guys and whatnot. I'm pretty big on Lina. I think she's a great finisher, a good rare, and a good like payoff for that like go wide deck. And even outside the go wide deck, like she's still real solid. Like any white deck I think would be happy to play her. Yeah, no, that's about all I can say for it. She's definitely going into Brago. Like flickering this girl, like, that's wonderful. And also want to just like protect the board from wraths, because I am playing Brago tokens. So it's just like, it's good defensive on there, so yeah. And I'll look into her maybe in 4-color humans. Maybe. Alrighty. We have Leonin Vanguard, which is a 1-mana 1/1 with, at the beginning of your combat on your turn, if you control 3 more creatures, they get +1/+1 until end of turn, and you gain 1 life. I'm not big on this. Like, one drops typically have to be very good to like want to play unlimited, and this is not one of them. If you got a +1/+1 counter, I'd be more into it, but attacking as a 2/2 late by the time you have 3 creatures out isn't that great, and the gaining 1 life, like there are better life gain enablers in the set that aren't so conditional, so I'm just not big on this. Also, they drew her with tits, which is just wrong. She's a cat. Stop it. No. Bad wizards. Next up is Leonin Warleader, which is a 4-mana 4/4, and whenever it attacks, create 2 1/1 white cat creature tokens with lifelink that are tapped and attacking. If this was a 4-mana 4/4, I would play it. The fact that you also get 2 tokens every time it attacks makes this insane. Easily first pickable, a great reason to be in white. Demands an answer, because like otherwise that will just like, the board will get out of control because you're just spitting out cats. Also cats. So yeah, I mean, you don't need me to tell you that this is a very good card. Go cats. Cats are great. I want a cat. Loxodon Linebreaker is a 3-mana 3/2 with flavor text. If you need 3 drops for your curve, you'll play it. And I mean, 3-mana 3/2, it like, well, it can often trade up. It also trades down very easily. It's there. It's not great. Enough said. It's a vanilla creature. Luminous Bonds. It's a 3-mana enchantment aura with enchanted creature cannot attack or block. It's removal. It's pretty solid removal. It's probably going to be white's bread and butter removal. Luminous Bonds is good. That's not fancy knowledge that you shouldn't know. That's one thing about like the set review I'm then finding is that like, unlike Dominaria, like because this is a lot straightforward, I'm finding myself being like, well, duh, this is good. Like, it's a lot easier to evaluate because it is made to be more pointed towards new players. So I'm just like, yes, this is good. This is bad. Which will cause probably the actual review videos to be a bit shorter than Dominaria, because it is also a smaller set. But yeah, what do you do? Make a Stand. It's a 3-mana instant. Creatures you control get +1/+0 and gain indestructible until turn. This is just all creatures. I normally like my combat tricks to be about 1 or 2 mana, but this is real great. Like, this is a blowout. If you do an all-out attack, cast Make a Stand, like that can just blow out your opponent. And it's definitely going to want to like pay attention to on like the defensive and on the defense and being like, is this a Make a Stand attack? But because it's like you can like throw this into like perfectly reasonable attacks and seem like perfectly reasonable blocks and trades and everything, and then just this blows them all out of the water. Yeah, no, this is real great. In both like the tokens deck, like this go wide deck, and just general decks. Like obviously if you're playing like it also like in a pinch you can use it defensively if they want to like kill your like good flyer like on their turn. You can still like just make a stand and protect it. So very high on Make a Stand, especially for combat tricks. I'm high on Make a Stand. Alrighty. Next up we have Mentor the Meek, who is a 3-mana 2/2 with whenever another creature with power 2 or less enters the battlefield under control, you may pay 1. If you do, draw a card. This is like a fun like build around one. You are going to want like critical mass of creatures with power 2 or less, like preferably like, even like some of the token generators in like red white. This becomes very good with, and just becomes this engine that helps you really get going. But yeah, if you pick it up early, you can prioritize like picking up those creatures and whatnot. That said, if you don't have like at least, I don't know, 4 to 5, preferably more 6 or things that trigger this, it's probably not worth running late in the draft or whatever, because it is a 3-mana 2/2, which is not great at all. So yeah, but if you can make it work, it can become a beast and really hard to deal with, and like lets you grind out a lot of great card advantage. Next up we have Mighty Leap, which is a 2-mana instant. It is a combat trick, which gives +2/+2 and flying until end of turn. So we're talking about 2-mana combat tricks. This one is actually a quite nice one. It's been repented endlessly. But it's +2/+2 for 2 mana is a decent trick, as well as giving flying lets you either like finish something off by like jumping a large creature, or be able to ambush a flyer, and just or just the +2/+2 is a seismology boost that will let you win a lot of combats. That all these things combined make it very versatile in how it's used, and that's what you want. The problem with combat tricks a lot of times is that they're very narrow situations where you want them, and Mighty Leap has enough situations where you want them in that like it's kind of like almost like kind of like a modal card in many ways, and I really like it. Next up we have Militia Bugler, which is 2 and a white for a 2/3 with Vigilance. When he enters the battlefield, look at the top 4 cards of your library. You may reveal a creature card with power 2 or less from among them and put in your hand. Put the rest on your bottom in any order. So it's a 2-mana 2/3 for Vigilance, which is not really a creature I'm looking to play, and only looking 4 down is that you're gonna miss on this a lot. Like, that said, if you do have kind of like, I'd say about 4 or more like things that this hits, I'd say it's probably worth running, because it's like 2-mana 2/3 Vigilance with a chance of drawing you a card isn't a bad card. And it's something I would run, but I don't think it's very high priority and limited unless you're already like doing that Mentor the Make deck and kind of like going for that. But that's a very narrow deck and not really an archetype. It's just kind of like cool synergies between individual cards that you can do. Next up we have Novice Knight, which is 1 white for a 2/3 with Defender. As long as it is enchanted or equipped, you can attack as though it doesn't have Defender. The thing is about having like a better than stat creature is that you want to play them on curve and be able to like attack with them on curve. This one you can't attack with them on curve. It's just there, and even then, that said, the equipment and enchantment in the set, like apart from like a few like higher rarity ones, aren't that great, and you get a not super great card and you get to make it playable. I'm not huge on Novice Knight. You're having to jump through way too many hoops, and yeah, that's about all I have to say. I don't think it's good. Like, I could see maybe in a slow, more grindy matchup, sideboarding again against like a low to the ground aggro deck. Like if you're getting running for like goblins or something, like this is a good blocker. And there's something to be said for just not having it as a wall, but I don't think it's super high priority to pick up. Oresco Swiftclaw. It's a 2-mana 3/1. I'm not a big fan of 3/1s. Just they die way too easily. And sure, they can beat down if you're like swinging in with them and they have no blockers, but it's not the kind of thing. Like if you're very aggressive, you might want this, but I'm not a fan of these. It's not as bad as like in Ixalan where you had like lots of like incidental pinging of things, but it's like Rapture Companion just ended up being atrocious there because of that. But yeah, still not a fan of just a 3/1 vanilla. Next up is Pegasus Courser. It's a 3-mana 1/3 flying, which with whoever it attacks, another target creature gains flying until end of turn. Honestly, it was good in Dominaria. It's still good now. I guess it is still good now because Dominaria is still the current set, but beside that, but yeah, no. This would be really good, especially because it's like flyers are typically pretty good, and if you're like in green and jumping up like a Colossal Dreadmaw or something like that, you can just get in a lot of damage. Also, it being a 1/3 flyer is like, it blocks other flyers pretty well, and yeah, just very high on Pegasus Courser. It's a good card. Take it highly. Remorseful Cleric. It is a 2-mana 2/1 with flying that you can sacrifice to exile all cards from target player's graveyard. That sacrifice effect isn't super relevant, but a 2/1 flying for 2 is a perfectly, actually quite good card. It's like, that's a 2-drop I really like in limited. And yeah, no, I'm down for Remorseful Cleric, ignoring the second line of text, because you're not doing that much with the graveyard in the set, so yeah. Resplendent Archangel. It's 1 white for a 3/3 with flying, with At the beginning of each end step, if you gain 5 or more life this turn, create a 4/4 white angel token with flying and vigilance. And you can pay 3 white, so 6 mana. Until end of turn, an angel gets +2/+2 and gains lifelink, so it can trigger its own ability. 3 3s for 3, playable limited. 3/3 flyings for 3, very good. A 3/3 that can pump itself to a 5/5 on its own with lifelink on its own, very, very good. Also getting a 4/4 angel when you do that, this card is busted and will steal games and is going to really push mono white in standard up quite a bit, and just like, it's a very good card. I don't know what else to say. Turns out it's just very pushed and very good. Obviously there's extra synergies with the life gain deck and everything, but you don't even need to talk about those, because if you open this, even if it's like pack 2 or 3, you should probably try do hard turn and make white work, because this card is arguably the best card in the set for limited. It is the stone bomb. So yeah. Next up is Revitalize, which is 1 white for an instant. You gain 3 life, draw a card. We've seen different versions of this, with Ritual Rejuvenation and whatnot. This one's a little bit cheaper because it's just 2 mana and it replaces itself, it gains some life. If you're in that life gain deck, I could see running this if you have those payoffs and want to do it. If not, you're paying 2 mana for 3 life, which you really, depending on the speed of the format, you might have time to do, but it's not really something I'm looking to do with my cards and stuff. But if you have those payoffs, yeah, go for it. And you have reasons to run it. The fact that it's an instant lets you do some tricky stuff with if you had the a Johnny's Pride Mate. So yeah, no, but if you don't have those, I probably wouldn't run it. Even if you do, you don't want to be running more than 1, maybe 2 of these. Next up is Rustwing Falcon, which is a 1/2 with flying. Again, I'm not big on this. It's just not enough stats for its mana cost, or not its mana cost, but just in general, to be super relevant on the field. It's not like we're playing a set with tons of Thopters where being a 2/2 flyer is super nice. And just picking it for 1 damage a turn is just not relevant. Mostly. Next up is Shield Mare, which is we got Shield Mare, which is a 3 mana 2/3 with it cannot be blocked by red creatures, which is sometimes relevant. And when it enters the battlefield or becomes target of a spell and ability you control, you gain 3 life. So if you're not playing against a red deck, it is a 2/3 that gains you 3 on ETB. Or on removal, if they choose to remove it that way. That's decent. That's not bad. Against a red deck, it becomes very nice, being unable to be blocked. I think this is okay. It's not great, but it's a fine bread and butter creature. And obviously it gets better if you're playing against a red deck, but yeah. It's a horse. This is a whole cycle of cards. Alright, next we have Star Crown Stack, which is a 4 mana 3/3, and whenever it attacks, tap target creature defending player controls. This is not bad. It's okay. It's actually, I think, pretty good. Its stats aren't great. It's not as good as, say, Territorial Hammer Skull from Ixalan, which was a 3 mana 2/3. But I think it's still not bad. Being able to take out a blocker, it's not as good as other tappers, but you can tap anything at any time, because it is conditional on the stag attacking. But yeah, I don't mind it. But it's just It helps you if you are playing that kind of like beat down aggro deck. You get to like take away their best blocker every turn. It makes them have to leave back more creatures, and that can be very beneficial for kind of like stimming damage and stuff, and can really help. Obviously, it isn't good if if you're racing your opponent, but yeah. But you could honestly probably also do somewhat better for 4-drops, but this one is not bad. It's a good bread and butter. Next up we have Sun Cleanser, which is a 2-mana 1/4 with, when it enters the battlefield, either remove all targets from target creature or target opponent loses all counters. And then they can't gain counters as long as this guy's on the battlefield. But this set doesn't actually have that much by means of counters, so this pretty much just is a vanilla 1/4, which is a good blocker, and if you need to fill out your curve, isn't the worst thing to have in the world, but you can pretty much just treat it as a 1/4 with flavor text. Most of the time. That's all I really have to say on this. Next up we have Take Vengeance, which is 1 white for destroy target tapped creature. This is quite good. I mean, it lets you kill things, and it's like pretty cheap. Like, it being tapped like is a condition that not always removes, it can't help vigilant stuff and other things like that. But all said, it is sorcery speed, but as that said, it deals with creatures, and it does it pretty efficiently for only 2 mana, so that's a good removal spell. This is a spell that's you want to take if you're white, and pretty heavily, and in limited you should be prioritizing removal, and this is the kind of stuff that you'll be getting a lot of the time. Next up we have Trusty Pack Beast, which is a 3-mana 2/3, and when it enters the battlefield, return target artifact from your graveyard to your hand. If you're in that kind of blue-white artifacts deck, and you have stuff that you're like sacking and things like that, then this could be good. If you don't have the artifacts, it's a 3-mana 2/3, and that isn't something you really want, so maybe hold off. But if you have even just like a few artifacts that you're sacking or might die in combat, it can be a pretty solid one, but you just need those pieces, otherwise it's just not really worth it. And finally in white we have Valiant Knight, who kind of reads as Elspeth at first glance. Like, that art like kind of like really reads as that, and we know that there's been like new art for Elspeth released, so I'm just like, Elspeth. I want to see Elspeth again. But it's a 4-mana 3/4, which is decent stats, and gives all your other knights +1/+1. I haven't talked about this, but a lot of the other white creatures are just incidentally knights. And you can pay 3 white to give all of your knights double strike until end of your turn, which includes this creature. So for 5 mana you can make her a 3/4 double strike, and instantly antheming the rest of your party is pretty good. She on her own, even if you have no other knights, I think is playable. Like, 4 mana 3/4 stats isn't bad stats, and the later on the activated ability to help her give her double strike isn't bad. Yeah, no, Valiant Knight, good payoff for knights too. So if you get it really, like, maybe prioritize knights a little bit, but don't worry, you don't need them to make this card good. And that is it for white. So let me know if you disagree with my analysis on these cards. I'll be doing the rest of the videos over the course of these next 2 weeks. We got the spoiler like 2 weeks before pre-release, so unlike Dominaria where I had to fit it all into like 1 week, so I have a little bit more leisure time. So it'll still be coming out frequently, but not every day this week is new part of the set review. So, but until we go over blue, I will talk to you later. And good luck at the pre-release, and I hope you have a wonderful rest of your day. Alright, may your story smile upon you.